Hey guys, this is the Lala Legacy, and welcome back to another episode of Cinderella Phenomenon. So let's jump right back in. We are going to attempt to flirt. So, are you okay? Attempt to flirt. I could feel Rumpel smiling at my back. If this were anyone else but him, I would think it was some kind of prank. But considering this is the way Rumpel acts all the time, maybe he's really trying to help me. I tried to recall how he flirted with his customers before. I could not help but notice that you were alone, sir. I am always alone. My heart is thumping far too loudly in my chest. What kind of things does Rumpel usually say? Madame, you are the most beautiful thief I have ever met, for it is you who have stolen my heart and stolen my gaze. Your eyes are more captivating than the stars, my sweet. If I could, I would stare into them forever and lose myself in their majesty. You remind me of a rose with thorns, but the thorns are what makes the rose so alluring. All he does is spout complimentary gibberish. I will try to do the same. How is it that you would always be alone when you have such lovely eyes? The customer stares at me baffled. I force myself to continue. Your eyes remind me of the leaves in fall as they flutter beneath the bright gaze of the sun, and I stop. The words nothing more than a shallow lie make me feel strangely hollow. The man was just staring at me, but he looks uncomfortable. Still, I do not think he is anywhere near as uncomfortable as I am. Ma'am? Perhaps you would... My voice trails off. I bite my lips so hard I could taste something metallic. The man's expression is a mixture of awe and perplexity. I immediately turn away from him and walk off. My whole face is hot, and I can feel anger boiling deep down inside of me. Princess. Leave me alone. Princess, we're not done. I do not care. I ignore everyone's gazes as I make my way as quickly as I can up the stairs into my room. There I collapse on my bed and lay there with my arms outstretched. Why would I have ever even thought about taking Rumpel's advice? Hours go by, and eventually I realize that it's time to help Annice with the night chores. Now I am helping her restock some of the bottles that Waltz and Karma brought back from town. I hope Annice does not mention what happened earlier today. I slip out of bed and head down to the main area of the tavern. The room is mostly quiet by the time I go downstairs. Parfait and Delora are talking to each other at the table, or at a table. Karma passes me by as I walk downstairs. He looks exhausted and oddly frustrated. I make my way over to Annice, who is already putting bottles on the shelves. Oh, Princess, are you... okay now? I am fine. Now, what did you need me to do? Annice explains how restocking works. She shows me the labels on the shelves and explains that the empty spots are where the new bottles go. It's not a hard job, and one I can easily do without thinking too hard. For a while, the only sounds that can be heard in the marchen are the bottles clinking against each other. Underneath that is the murmuring between Parfait and Delora. I have no idea what they're talking about, but they look serious, so it must be something important. So, Princess, can I ask what life was like at the palace? Right. She cannot remember working in the palace before. I don't mean to pry. I was just trying to make conversation. I would rather not. Oh, okay. Eventually, Parfait and Delora stand from their seats and move to another room to continue their conversation. Annice breaks the silence again. The tavern is nice when it's quiet like this, isn't it? You can hear the sounds outside if you open a window. My hands move swiftly, placing bottles on shelves by label. All I want to do is get the work done and return to my room. It was like this at the old place I used to work. I was hired by a rich family to be their maid. Their mansion was a beautiful place. You could hear the crickets if you were by the windows on the bottom floor. It seems like her memory has been twisted by my curse, so she cannot remember working at the palace. All she remembers is working for a rich family. It was a nice place, Princess. There was a girl close to my age that had a radiant smile. Radiant smile? Oh, she must be talking about a Melanie. The head of the mansion is a really kind man, and she grows suddenly quiet, a look of confusion coming to her face. She pauses and then shakes her head. I can't seem to remember everyone that was there, but I'm pretty sure they were all good people. At least I like to think so. I was just a bad maid. She was. Because of her, Dolores' dress was torn. I was too ashamed to tell one of the mistresses that I couldn't save her doll. Save her doll? Annice looks down, her smile wistful. I was fired on my first day because I couldn't save one of the mistress's dolls. I was the one cleaning her shelves that day, and when I went in, I saw that a crow had come in through the open window and was pecking at one of her dolls. I shooed it away, but it was too late. The doll had a little rip in its dress, and I was fired for not doing my job properly. So it wasn't Annice who ripped Dolores' dress, but a bird? Is this why Dolores insisted Annice deserves an apology? What happened after you were fired? Lady Parfait found me on the streets. I couldn't go back to my aunt's house, not after what happened. She never liked me anyway. Annice's face clouds briefly with sorrow, but the expression is short-lived. I could never forget the day I met Lady Parfait. I told her I would be able to help her and anyone else that got sick. That I can even do all the cooking since I've been making meals for my father since I was a young girl. I begged her to take me in, and she did. I owe Lady Parfait a lot. Why didn't you just go back with your father after you were fired? My father passed away a while ago. My mother died giving birth to me. My father was an herbalist, and he taught me a lot while he was still with me. So before Rumpel came in, I helped Lady Parfait with herbal remedies. So you have no one? That's what I thought. But now I have everyone here. The Marchant is my family now. Family? Princess, we're all happy to have you here, too. You really help out around the Marchant, and I could tell Rumpel's happy to have you as a partner. The memory of what happened today slowly seeps back into my mind. I cannot help the irritation bubbling up inside of me. I know he's a little overwhelming, but I'm pretty sure Rumpel really is trying to help you, just like he's helping Lady Parfait. It's not the same thing at all. The two of us continue working until Annice makes another wistful comment. The place I worked before this, it felt like there was warmth in that gigantic home, but it was stifled. That place isn't warm at all. I speak the words without even meaning to. Annice looks up at me curiously. The king suddenly started speaking to me when Mother died, but it was never enough. Before that, he was cold and distant, and even now he favors his new wife and children over me. There were people, but they all wore fake smiles, and my father, he was the worst of all. Excuse me. I may as well have never existed to him. Princess, I'm sorry. For what? You're talking about the palace, right? The king always seemed so nice. He put his kingdom before his children. Annice fidgets nervously. I'm sorry. Apologies are not going to change the past. Sometimes apologizing seems like all we could do when we can't change something that's already happened. I think about Annice, who tried to save my doll, and the way I fired her that day. Rumpel told me once that all I could do was listen to people who sympathized with them. Could that also be true for finding out the truth? All I could do is make up for what I did to her is... we're going to apologize to Annice. I am sorry. Annice looks at me, clearly shocked. She stares for a few moments before I scowl at her. Staring is rude. Oh, I was just... Why are you apologizing to me, Princess? It is for something I did that you wouldn't remember. That I wouldn't remember? You should tell me. I promise I won't hold it against you. It is not important. Annice's eyes are suddenly downcast, and no matter the attempt, her smile isn't as bright as it was, or as it once was. I quickly finish stacking the bottles on the shelves. I am done. Annice turns to look at me with an unusually tired expression on her face. Thank you for listening to me, Princess, and for telling me a little bit about yourself, too. I feel like I might have said too much. I do not respond to Annice, but instead choose to head out the front door. Annice asks where I'm going, but I just ignore her. I think about heading to town, but then reconsider. I decide to head to the forest instead. I make my way to the forest clearing. In the dark, everything feels a lot more comfortable. Here, I do not have to pretend to listen to anyone, and I do not have to talk about myself. I settle down on a rock and stare up at the sky. I apologized, but Annice did not even understand my apology. And even now, I still cannot bring myself to trust those at the margin. I sigh and find myself speaking aloud. Maybe I am the Ice Princess. Ah, but have you seen the beautiful sculptures that could be made from ice, Princess? I turn to see Rumpel walking toward me, a broad grin on his face. Ice always sparkles in the sun. It glistens and stands so proudly where it's been sculpted. I stare at Rumpel blankly. He sighs and shakes his head. I'm sorry. That one was particularly bad, wasn't it? He sits down beside me and his grin falters a little bit. Aw! I have no white lies to give you this time, my sweet princess, but I will offer anything else you would need for me to apologize for my advice earlier today. I can offer anything. My words, my body. I cut Rumpel off as I am not in the mood for his usual behavior. You are always like this. All you ever do is flirt. Any meaningful thing you try to say is lost in the flattery you constantly give to people. It is shallow. You're right. What? I stare at him. Rumpel is still smiling, but it's not the same confident grin he wore earlier. Somewhere deep in my memories, I remember someone telling me off just like this. Many people enjoy flattery, Princess, and a lot of people are receptive to flirting. But nothing can measure up to a genuine compliment. But I stand by what I said before, in that making a person happy is a good deed. Look, I'll show you. Rumpel shifts so that he's looking right at me, and I notice that his smile is gone. Melody, of all the women I've met, you are the most straightforward and honest. Many do not have the courage or the confidence to exhibit those qualities. And that is why I admire you, and why I will always take your words to heart, because I know you will always speak the truth. I look into Rumpel's eyes, which still have a gentle shimmer despite the darkness. For a few moments his words float around in my head. No one has ever called my bluntness honesty before, and no one has ever complimented me for it. Rumpel told me before that I deserve to be spoiled. Maybe it's because he sees the things I do in a more positive light. My, you're struck speechless by that, aren't you? You look cute with your cheeks so rosy, my sweet princess. I glare at him and Rumpel just laughs in response. I put a hand to my cheek, suddenly self-conscious. Rumpel smiles at me, but it is not the usual playful smile. All right, he almost looks serious. Did he mean what he just said? We're going to tell him off. Why did you have to be so dramatic when you gave me that compliment? I was dramatic. I cross my arms and Rumpel grins at me. I can't help it, Princess. I am dramatic by nature. A compliment is, in some ways, a performance. So, you did not mean what you said? No, I did. I swear I did. I was trying to show you how making a person happy could be a good deed. Complimenting a person on appearances is easier than complimenting them on their demeanor. You have to know a person for that. I mean what I said, Princess, and I swear that wasn't just me trying to weave spectacular words together. Earlier, I bet you made Annice happy too. You were spying on our conversation. I would never. I just happened to be making my way down the stairs very slowly. You don't even know what I was apologizing for. No, but you thought you had to after you listened to her, didn't you? I listen far more than you do. Princess, you've shattered my heart so many times there are permanent cracks. But do not worry, the cracks in my heart allow even more of you to make your way into it. Rumpel awkwardly laughs when I remain silent. Anyway, there are different kinds of listening, Princess. Listening to sympathize is one kind. Trying to pull yourself in someone's shoe, or put yourself in someone's shoes, trying to understand them, that is one of those ways. Then there is the kind of listening that is shallow. One pretends to listen without ever letting the words into their heart. Words are fickle things. Mother always told me that people lie and that they would say whatever benefited them. It is foolish to trust words. What if Annice had been lying to me? Why would I put so much blind faith in people? Because more often than not, people are good, Princess. I let out an exasperated sigh. Sometimes I cannot tell if I'm angry or confused by Rumpel. Ah, what a beautiful sound! It was as if the sweet wind itself was gently tickling my ear. I slide away from him and scowl. Your scowl is adorable too, and you have such delicate lips. Right. I am still convinced that his earlier compliment was just a lie. How can he say something genuine and then slide right back into his pitiful flattery? For a moment, silence falls, and I find to my surprise that it is not awkward being alone with Rumpel. Will you accept my apology from earlier? I promise I'll never try to flirt with anyone ever again. Or you or anyone ever again. Besides, if you flirted with another man and then grew fond of him, I would be devastated. That would never happen. You didn't let me finish. I was going to say that I would be devastated because that would mean that your heart belongs to someone else and... Whoops. My bad. My heart belongs to no one. I will steal it like a thief in the night. That will also never happen. If not that, then I'll settle with making you smile at least once, because I'm sure you would shine as brightly as the sun if you smiled. You are unreasonably persistent. Love is a persistent endeavor, Princess. A man in love stops at nothing to win over the woman that he so adores. Then you must be in love with many women. I stand up. I would appreciate you just complimenting me when you mean it. But, Princess, I mean every one of my compliments. I have no energy to chastise him right now, but at least I no longer have the anger inside from earlier. It's been a long day, and I am going to bed. Would you like company? I didn't mean good night, Rumpel. Good night, Princess Melody. I make my way back to the tavern, feeling surprisingly light. Still, even if Rumpel's words might make me happier than I care to admit, he is not doing a very good job of helping me with my curse. I might have to do this one on my own after all. Chapter 5. The Doctor. What a brilliant day! The sun is shining, the town is full of laughter, and I have my sweet princess here to accompany me. I cannot help but groan at Rumpel's optimism. Because we were both sent out to run errands. Because everyone thinks that we make a wonderful couple. No, because we're partners. Partners, a couple, it may as well be the same thing. Half of the time, Rumpel says some deep things, but then he says things like that. It is like he has two personalities. No, it is not the same thing at all. I take out the list and scour it for the things we need to buy. More than half of it is already crossed out. I glance at the bags Rumpel is carrying. He refuses to let me carry any of them, insisting that it would be impolite to force the load on me. That leaves me with the list duty. This is a lot more laid back than what I have to do at the margin. Okay, now we have the general medicine restock for Annice. My area of expertise. Never fear, my sweet princess, I will find everything we need. We already have a list. But Rumpel just hums enthusiastically as we continue on our way, and I am not entirely sure if he heard me or not. We arrive at the little medicine shop in the central plaza. A man exits through the front door, coughing so loudly people turn their head to stare at him. I wait for the man to pass so that I can open the door to the store, but then I notice that Rumpel hasn't budged beside me at all. His eyes do a quick scan of the man before he slowly begins to walk toward him. "Sir, are you sick?" What's it to you?" "Even if I was sick, lad, there's nothing I can do if I don't have any money. Besides, it's not like this will kill me, it's just a cough." "How long have you had your cough, sir?" It seems like such a minor thing, but Rumpel suddenly looks so serious about it. He looks at the man with his eyes slightly narrowed as if trying to see past him. "It's been with me for more than 3 days." "Coughs are pesky things, aren't they? They're usually the last thing to go, but at least they're not deadly most of the time. Even if you can't buy the medicine, sir, there are other at-home remedies that might help you with your cough." "Boy, I've already tried warm tea. My wife's given me enough of that." "Water is good for your throat too, sir. Any kind of steam works too. If the cough is riddled with mucus, it'll be easier to expel with steam. When you can't afford the medicine, sometimes the simple things will help. Coughs stay for a while, so don't fret if you can't get rid of yours immediately." "Well, I appreciate the advice. Not exactly what a doctor would tell me, but it'll have to do." The man thanks Rumpel before walking off. I notice Rumpel looking down at the ground, a rather forlorn expression on his face. Is what he said true? About what, princess? About doctors not giving advice about at-home remedies. Most of the doctors don't believe in such things. They always think that medicines work better than at-home or herbal remedies. The medicines do help, but sometimes they aren't necessary. Yet you just gave him advice. Not everyone can afford medicine. Being a doctor means helping people, not taking advantage of the sickness to steal their money. Money was never a problem at the palace. Whenever I was sick, the palace staff made sure I had the best and most effective medicines. Do you remember what you were like as a doctor? I wanted to help everyone that showed up at my doorstep. Sometimes I couldn't, and it frustrated me. I prescribed medicines when necessary, gave advice other times, and when things were dire, I performed small operations. He does seem a lot more serious when he's talking about health. But that is all the time that I have for this episode, guys. So if you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up down below. And if you haven't already, subscribe. By subscribing, you're becoming part of a legacy. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!